It's episode 602 of the Locked On Texas Rangers podcast. On today's show, like many shows, I'm talking about the greatness of Martin Perez. Another fantastic start in Oakland. The Rangers won that game, have themselves a little winning streak, and if they sweep this series, they could get to 500. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm your host, Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host of this podcast for all 4 seasons. It is Friday, May 27th. The Texas Rangers finally have 20 wins on the season. They are 20-23, sitting at 3rd place in the American League West. Happy Obi-Wan Day to everyone who observes. Also, gonna go ahead and apologize if y'all can hear my crappy music of my neighbor who decided to hit play very loudly. Literally the second that I started recording. Very cool, but it's fine. I'm a pro. I'll power through. We'll see if we can edit it out in post, and maybe y'all just hear me complaining about nothing, which would be great. But thank y'all for making Locked On Rangers your first listen of the day. If you're not already, you can go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers, and you can subscribe on YouTube, where the best way to help is to subscribe there and comment anything below. Comment Martin Perez is amazing. Comment, wow, Bryce's neighbor's music really sucks. Comment, why is he blasting music at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? He should be waiting until 5 for that. It's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Martin Perez has cured all of my ails, all of my worries, and he did it very quickly, very efficiently, just like he normally does. He only allowed 1 run in his start. There's only 1 run scored by the Oakland A's in the 4-1 victory, and that 1 run came off of a wild pitch. This guy was in some pretty bad jams a couple of times with runners on second and third. I believe one of those times even with no out. But he worked out of it like he did, only through 95 pitches in this one, went 7 innings of 1-run ball, did walk a couple, but struck out 6. And I believe the 1 run that scored, let me see, just to make this correct. No, it was not Elvis Andrus, who did have a walk and a double off of Martin Perez, and did have a nice little back and forth, talking smack with each other, the good friends who are both from Venezuela and played on the Texas Rangers for such a long time together. Both really good buddies off the field, but definitely there's some competitiveness there. It's a little bit like the Adrian Beltre and Felix Hernandez kind of vibes. Not quite as outlandish. They're not quite as loud or outspoken. Well, I mean, Elvis is, but Martin Perez isn't quite as outspoken there in that rivalry. And I don't think they're going to fake charge them out or do anything goofy like Beltre and Felix would do. But they definitely had some fun. And Elvis hit the crap out of a baseball for a double. That is a big field in Oakland. And he hit that one real hard. But you know who else hit the ball really hard? Nathaniel Lowe got his 3rd home run of the season. 2 out of the 3 have been in Oakland, and I remember saying right before that road trip, right before he got his first home run, and same with Andy Ibanez in that same game on Friday night, the first Apple TV game of the season for the Rangers, saying, "Oh no, it's early in the season in Oakland. Don't expect a whole lot of guys to break their 0 for homerless streak there." But both those guys did, and maybe Marcus Semien can do the same. Did not have a great game. Did not have the whole top of the Rangers lineup did not have a great game in this one. But Martin Perez was absolutely cooking, and he's just continues to be excellent. Right now, so far on the season, he has the 2nd best ERA through, 5 starts on the season? 9 starts on the season. 56 and a third innings, 44 strikeouts. Hey, 160 ERA. 160! He has been absolutely insane, so good, and he had some poignant words after last night's game. He wrote "for Uvalde" on his cap, and this is what he had to say about that. He said, it's, quote, "It's hard to believe what happened here. I have kids too, so it's pretty hard because there's no way some guy who's 18 years old should buy a gun, go to the school, and shoot those kids. It's really bad, and I think it's time for the government to do something. They have to control it more and make some decisions because it's happening over and over and over, and nobody does anything." But they have to do something because it only happens in this country, especially in my country too, Venezuela. It's not a safe country. And then you come here and feel that way too, like scared to go into the mall, a supermarket, and so that something is going to happen. It's really bad, man. What happened to those kids is bad, and we feel that, and we all have families. Every time I went out there, I just said, this is for this city, and they have to stop this. It can't continue to happen. Now, he wasn't the only one to make a statement about Uvalde last night, and it wasn't even, I would say, not even the most powerful statement. That came from the Tampa Bay Rays, who used all of their social media channels to broadcast facts about gun violence and the dangers of it. They partnered with a nonprofit organization called Everytown, the largest gun violence prevention nonprofit in the country. And this is something that's personal to them because they have a pitcher who is from Uvalde. Brooks Raley, a left-handed reliever who was drafted in, I believe, 2009 by the Cubs. He's bounced around a couple different places. He's been on the Astros. He went to Texas A&M. He still lives in College Station with his family, and his family still lives in Uvalde. This is what he had to say on Wednesday, Brooks Raley, that is. He said, news travels fast. I did go to that school. I walked those halls, so I can imagine what they experience each day, and I'm feeling it for that community. His mom and his brother still live in Uvalde. He went to the school. He knows what that's like. And the Yankees, who the Rays were playing against that night, they joined in, and they used their social media accounts. They just used their Twitter account. The Rays put it on Instagram, on Facebook. I'm not sure if they put it on TikTok, but they didn't tweet about the game at all. They're like, we're not going to tweet about this game. This is not what we're going to use this for. We're going to amplify this with all of our channels and all of our power. They have 653,000 followers on Twitter, and that's what they use their channel to do. They have their banner image on Twitter is this orange picture that just says end gun violence, and all they did was broadcast statistics about how many shootings occur, how dangerous guns are, and things like that. And the Yankees, props to them because they joined in as well. They didn't go the full 9 yards of changing their profile picture and things like that, but they didn't tweet about the game at all. They just tweeted facts about gun violence, things like when an assault weapon is used in a mass shooting, it results in 6 times as many people shot as when other guns are used, and they used citations on all of these, talked about veterans and suicide with gun deaths, and the Yankees have 3.6 million Twitter followers. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. Nobody else ended up joining in. It was just these two that were doing it, but props to them for using their platform for something, for instead of talking about it, being about it. They also made a $50,000 donation to Everytown, which is approximately the salary of all of their players, but still, this is a big thing for them. I am really impressed with them using their platform for something like this, for Martin Perez for speaking up and he's a very quiet guy. He doesn't talk a whole lot. He gives a lot of stock answers, and the reason for his success is pretty much stock answers, like, I'm just attacking hitters. I literally just am. His stuff's not different, but he's different, and he used his platform to make a statement. The Rays and the Yankees did as well. So props to them for doing that, because that is not something you see happening a lot in Major League Baseball. And I am genuinely really impressed by both of them. Coming up, we talk a little bit more about Martin Perez and what's been the difference for him. Also, an update on Mitch Garver that Evan Grant casually dropped in his newsletter that I think is worth more than a casual drop. And a little bit later, I'm going to talk about the farm and who I'm going to see tonight in Frisco. But first, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. When we've been talking about Built Bar, they've asked and they've delivered. Built granola bars are here. Built granola continues to come in 3 unbelievable flavors: chocolate, peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Want to try all 3 flavors? You can get a mixed box at built.com right now. There are so many different bars, from the puffs and the granola. Now granola bars are loaded with granola. It's a perfect combination of crunch and chewiness. Built just like Built bars and puffs, these babies are packed with protein and covered in 100% real chocolate. You absolutely love to see that. And they're made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides you a ton of health benefits. So if you're waiting for a healthy and delicious granola bar to hit the market, here it is. This is your time to go do it. Head to built.com right now to get the Built granola bars. 3 delicious flavors to try: chocolate peanut butter, chocolate coconut, and white chocolate berry. Don't miss out. You got to get yours today. Go to built.com. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off at built.com. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. It's taking fans around the network with perspective from all of the Locked On hosts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, with recaps of MLB games every single night. Y'all go check it out. They put a lot of work into it. I'm on there occasionally, so if you like me, then maybe you can go check that out. The Locked On Now podcast. Now, the casual update that Evan Grant dropped in his newsletter this morning was, oh, yeah, Mitch Garver might not catch again for the rest of the season. I'm sorry. What? He might not catch again for the rest of this season? We knew it was going to be a while. We knew it was going to be for the foreseeable future. I talked with Levi Weaver of The Athletic, and I was like, all right, I've heard it bounced around a bunch of times. Woodward says, oh, not for the near future. It's going to be a little while. It's going to be a while. And, this was a couple weeks ago, and I think he said around a month, maybe a month and a half, maybe like end of June, July-ish. And I was like, okay, that's a more reasonable than, I don't know, in a while. But Evan Grant is suspecting that he might not play catcher at all for the rest of the season, which is a little worrisome. For the Rangers. Now, it's not as worrisome as it would have been like at the very, very beginning of the season. I was a little more worried about Sam Huff coming up and struggling. And, the strikeouts have been bad. He does not have a single extra base hit just yet. He also doesn't have a walk. He's got 11 strikeouts in 28 appearances, but he's hitting .393. He's also got an on base of .393, and he's slugging .393 because all he does is hit singles really, really hard. He has hit balls really hard. I would like for him to walk. He's not up there hacking. It's not like he's overmatched. But again, 11 strikeouts in 28 plate appearances with no walks, no extra base hits. It's a little worrisome for a guy who's pretty much supposed to hit. But catching-wise, he's done the job. He is a legit catcher. There was some concern about that a couple of years ago, and with him losing a whole year of development behind the plate, I was really worried. I dropped him probably way too far. I dropped him all the way off my top 30 on the midseason. Well, he's probably going to be off the prospect list in mid-season because he's already got 9 games under his belt and 28 plate appearances, and by then he'll probably have a lot more. I mean, Jonah Heim has been absolutely incredible. He's got, I believe, still the highest OPS among catchers at 836. His OPS plus is 143. He does have the 5 homers, 5 doubles. He's walking quite a bit, on base at 352. We love to see that. Like to see him hit a bit more homers. It kind of dropped off a little bit. There were a whole bunch of them at the beginning, not quite as many as of late, and getting on base has been a little bit of a downturn. Still, a lot of value provided in the framing. I believe he's still in the top 10% of baseball in terms of framing. At one point, he was in the top 4%. He might still be there. But again, not as much of a concern. But when it's a concern for Nathaniel Lowe. And I know he's just coming off this great game where he hit a 2-run homer to cap off a 3-run ninth inning where the Rangers were tied going in. By the way, it was fun to see. A shout out to Andy Ibanez and Nathaniel Lowe, who both had just been in a really, really rough way lately. They were giving Sam Huff some at-bats, or some games, or at least a game so far. Might be more games. It might be more games for Mitch Garver at first base. But Nathaniel Lowe hasn't lived up to the expectation that the Rangers have for him. He is pretty much a bat-first, really bad defensive first baseman who probably should be a DH or maybe a left fielder. I don't really know. Probably just a DH. But the Rangers have a DH right now. And if Mitch Garver is not going to catch for the rest of the season, that's a big development because he's going to probably play some first. He's going to, DH a lot bit. Once that elbow gets rested up and he's, good enough to at least throw from first base, he's still not going to be able to make throws for a while from behind the catcher spot. And so, but his bat is so good that the Rangers need him in there. I mean, it didn't show last night, but coming into this game, he had 3 homers, 3 straight games with a home run, and they were not cheapy wall scrapers. They were absolutely big time tanks, and he went 0 for 4 in this one with 3 strikeouts. Marcus Semien 0 for 4 with 1 strikeout. Corey Seager 0 for 4 with 1 strikeout. Literally nothing out of the top of the order, but the depth of this lineup continued to come up big. Cole Calhoun was in the 4th spot. Jonah Heim got on with a base hit to start that rally in the 9th inning. He was pinch run for by Eli White, and Adolis Garcia smacked a double right down that left field line to give the Rangers a 1-run lead. I was sitting there waiting, working last night, talking with Joe Hoyt, who was out there for the Dallas Morning News in Oakland. I was like, all right. The only thing between me and the Obi-Wan series hitting is the Rangers either getting this win very quickly in the 9th inning or blowing it very quickly in the 9th inning. Honestly, at that point, I was like, either way, just get me out of here by the time my shift ends at 1 a.m. Thankfully, they did that. Adolis got the 1-run lead. I was like, all right, Joe Barlow's going to come in. Let's see if he can get the save. Let's see if we can get it done. But the pinch running by Eli White was a big spot there. I mean, maybe Jonah Heim would have scored. I don't know. He's in the bottom quarter of the league in sprint speed, but he does have a couple of stolen bases on the season. He's been a smart base runner. He's not fast. That's fine. He's a catcher. He's doing some really amazing other things. That's why you can pinch run for him in that 9th inning. Adolis smacked that ball really hard, and Adolis was hitting in the 6th hole of this order, and I think that might be about where he needs to be. He's still putting up really good, pretty good offensive numbers. He's hitting the ball incredibly hard. Top 6% of the league in average exit velos, hard hit percentage in the top 10% of the league. Expected slugging and barrel percentage are both in the top quarter of baseball, and he's still in the top 20% of baseball in terms of sprint speed. But his whiff rate, his chase rate, both those in the bottom 9% of baseball. Strikeout rate, bottom 14% of baseball. Walk rate, 17th percentile. Not great, not what you want, but he is trending up. He is on the up and up in his last 50 plate appearances, the last 100 plate appearances. That OPS and those expected numbers are still way high up there because he's still hitting the baseball about as hard as anybody, and it's starting to fall just a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the depth of this lineup and Adolis Garcia, where he is going, and a little bit about the farm, because it's Farm Friday. First, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. Find the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, where the Mavericks are just eliminated. So if you want to bet on whoever the Warriors are going to play in the NBA Finals, or you want to bet on the Warriors so we can make the Mavs run look better, shouts to Nick and Isaac at Locked On Mavs. I know they are quite sad about the end of that season, but it means that, well, besides the Wings and FC Dallas, the Rangers are the only sports game going in town. But, you can bet on them, I guess, if you want. You can go to BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, let's take a look at Adolis Garcia, his expected numbers, all this good stuff. And one of the things that I was a little worried about him last year, one of the biggest problems, the biggest problem, is that this man did not walk. This man walked 5.1% of the time, which was in the bottom 6% of the league last year. That's not great. His average exit velo was 91 miles an hour, which was pretty darn good, I believe, in the top half of baseball last year. Right now, it's 1.6 miles an hour harder, and that's in the top 6% of baseball, which is very good. He hit fastballs well. He hit sliders well. Changeups gave him absolute fits. Any kind of off-speed stuff gave him quite a bit of fits. He's doing much better against those pitches now. He's only batting .208, but his expected batting is at .260 on those pitches. He's not doing well against breaking stuff. His expected batting average, the difference between that and his actual batting average on those pitches is about 70 points. He's hitting right now under 160 on those, but he's still hitting fastballs really, really well. Again, all of these expected numbers are much higher than his actual numbers. Those are starting to equalize now as he is getting a little bit hotter, but I like him a little bit more in the 5-hole in this order. I really like the lineup that Chris Woodward put together in this one, and I think it's what he should stick with going forward. With Semien in the leadoff role, Seager in the 2-hole, Garver in the 3-hole, then cleanup. Between cleanup and 5-hole, switching back and forth where it's lefties against lefties, Jonah Heim is hitting cleanup and Cole Calhoun is hitting 5th. Not that Calhoun's hitting bad against lefties. It's just Jonah Heim is really mashing against lefties, which is kind of interesting because as a switch hitter, usually it's the guys mash when they're hitting its righties as a left-handed batter, and against lefties as a right-handed batter, they tend to struggle more just because usually you're seeing a lot more right-handed pitchers versus lefties. But Jonah Heim, his splits are the opposite. He's done very, very well as a right-handed batter and pretty well as a left-handed batter as well. But I like Adolis in the 6 hole. I think that's a good place for him. Then you look at the bottom 3, and it's one of Nathaniel Lowe, Brad Miller, Sam Huff, or Andy Ibanez, and I think that's pretty darn good. Or if Eli White sneaks in there every once in a while, or Charlie Culberson, or what have you, just one of those 3 in the bottom 3 of your lineup. And if Nathaniel Lowe is your number 7 hitter, and as much as he's struggled this year, he's still a really good hitter. I mean, he provided a lot of value, and it was the bottom, well, I guess it was the middle third, technically, not the bottom of the order, but technically kind of the middle, from Cole Calhoun, who had another multi-hit game, Jonah Heim, who had the 1 hit, Adolis in the 6 hole, and then Nathaniel Lowe with the walk and the 2-run bomb. Really like to see that. Need to see a little bit more offensively from Nathaniel Lowe. Would like for him to not be terrible defensively, but, if he doesn't, then Sam Huff is right there. Sam Huff is right there. He is coming up, and there's another guy who might be coming up to take his spot at first base. Anyway, it's not going to be Matt Carpenter, who is now rocking a very sweet mustache on the Yankees. Like, it's fantastic. It's real. It's not. It almost rivals Nestor Cortez's. Like, he's got a fantastic mustache, and when he had an OPS over 900 in AAA and kind of looked a little bit more like the Matt Carpenter we're used to, I'm kind of surprised the Rangers didn't give him a little bit of a look here, especially at third base. I don't know if he can actually play third base anymore, but with how bad Andy Ibanez has been and Nathaniel Lowe has been, I'm a little shocked they didn't give him just a little bit of a look-see. Just like, oh, why don't we check? Why don't we check and see? We took a flyer on you. Might as well give that flyer a look. And I think Ibanez still has some options, but the Rangers are probably getting close to the end of their rope with him and just riding out one of Brad Miller or Charlie Culberson at third base for pretty much the rest of the season while they wait for Josh Young to get healthy. Because I don't think Josh Smith is quite there. Let's transition that to look at the minor leagues and who has been doing well at this point in terms of offense. Yeah, Matt Carpenter had a 991 OPS in 21 games at AAA so far this year, which I don't think he's going to see many more of those. He had an on base of 379, slugging over 600. Yeah, that's a guy who I really thought they might give a look. He is only 36. Like, he's not completely washed, completely out of there. And in terms of other guys, Mabrice Valoria, again, that 25-year-old that I mentioned very quickly, if Sam Huff continues to not, or do they just want to give him every day at bats at catcher, send him back down to AAA, which I would totally understand, and get more of a true backup kind of guy in there. But, Huff's at bats have been mostly pretty good, so they're going to keep him up there as long as they can. But Valoria is right there. He's a 25-year-old catcher with a 925 OPS in 104 plate appearances right now at AAA. And Yohel Pozo is also doing pretty well. Again, I don't think he's a catcher. I'm pretty sure he's just a DH guy, but he's got an 855 OPS and on base of 383. That is something that you love to see. And in terms of Eli White, I think his time as pretty much an everyday starter in left field might be coming to an end as soon as Leote breaks out of this little cold slump that he's in. Steele Walker is falling off a cliff after a really, really nice start to the season, but again, hasn't been that great. And Willie and Nick Solak have not been doing well in AAA. It has not been very encouraging for them. In 5 games for Solak, he's got a 711 OPS. 7-11. Oh, thank heaven that Nick Solak is not an everyday player for the Texas Rangers right now. Sorry, it was right there. It was right there. I had to do it. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. It was just right there and so easy. But right now, Willie Calhoun has a 625 OPS, which is the worst among players outside of Yanni Hernandez, who literally played 1 game and is on the Diamondbacks now, in case you didn't know. But Leody Taveras is in a bit of an offensive slump after a incredible start to the season, and they're waiting for him to break out, I'm assuming. So once he does break out of that slump, I'm assuming that they're going to call him up because they think he is just about ready, and I think he thinks he's just about ready, which is a good indicator of that. But let's look a little bit at Double A, and we were speaking about guys at first base who are crushing it. And one guy who's crushing it at first base is old Blaine Crimm, the Alabama kid from Mobile, 19th round pick out of Mississippi College. In the month of May, has been outstanding. This is a guy who knows who he is. He's first baseman / DH. He knows that. He's like, I got to mash. That's it. I just got to mash. And in the month of April, it wasn't super great for him. Had a 729 OPS. Not an ideal start. Just 2 home runs in 19 games and 71 at-bats. But in the month of May, he's got 21 games under his belt so far. 79 at-bats and 8 home runs in 21 games. He knows he's got to mash. And he is mashing. He's got a OPS of 1116. Hitting 342, on base, over 400, slugging, over 700. The guy has been crushing it. He's also got 5 doubles in that span. Does still have 19 strikeouts in those 79 at-bats, but 7 walks. That will play. Also does have 2 stolen bases on the season. Fun little fact. Just a fun little fact. I'm looking forward to seeing him tonight. I am kind of pissed at the Rough Riders for amending their schedule. For one, Jack Leiter last night is when he pitched as opposed to Friday. My brother is coming in town today, and he agreed to go to a baseball game with me and let me chat his ear off about every single prospect that he knows nothing about and might not care about, but he's going to get it anyway. But tonight, I am not going to see him. I am going to see someone else. I'm going to see the best starting pitcher so far this year for the Texas Rangers. And I might see a little glimpse of Jose Leclerc. It's Cole Reagan's. Cole Reagan's going to start tonight because last night Jack Leiter had a nice little bounce back start for himself there. 5 innings in that one after a really rough couple of outings before that. Again, he's Jack freaking Leiter. He's a kid. He's going to struggle. It's been literally 8 games. He brought his ERA back down under 6, I believe, on the season so far. So that is a nice thing to see. Yeah, a 5.90 ERA in 29 innings so far this season. And 36 strikeouts, 12 walks. Again, the walks are a problem. He knows it. He's still only allowed 1 home run. And for a guy that relies very heavily on the fastball, that is an impressive stat to see. I'm hoping to get a look at shortstop version of Ezequiel Duran. I've seen the second base version. I have seen second base version. And I've seen second base version. I'd like to see him at shortstop tonight, please. Or third base. You know, either one is fine. I just want to get a gauge on how good that arm is. I know I could ask somebody else who has probably seen him at shortstop. And I've seen a few throws. Second base, I like his footwork. I like his glove there. And I'm going to see, hopefully, maybe I'll get to see Justin Foscue. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've missed him every single time that I've been there, which is frustrating because he is having a great season as well. I mentioned on Twitter earlier, floating the nickname for Ezequiel Duran as Doubles Duran because he got 18 doubles, which leads all of minor league baseball, would lead all of Major League Baseball, and I don't think anybody in Asia or any other international league has more doubles at this point in the season than his 18. But old Tim Beamer, my buddy from MFFLs.com, said, oh no, not Doubles Duran. Duran. Incredible nickname. I say we should stick with it. Duran is incredible. I'm assuming it's Duran, not Duran, like the band, which means it would be a distinction that is worth noting on podcasts and if not in writing. But yeah, this is a guy who is doing very well, 355 on base, slugging over 570, an OPS of 926 on the season. Really liking what I'm seeing so far from him. And one note that I wanted to note about the hitters in Hickory who have been doing very well, Nathaniel Lowe again through 12 games. I think he might have an injury because he's only played 12 games. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I need to go look out for that and see what's going on with that. And he is leading all of the, Scott Capers, the 25-year-old who's just a little bit older. He's a catcher who, again, when you see a guy who's that much older than everybody else on the roster, you think, okay, well, maybe he's not quite the prospect tag that we should just throw on him. But outside of Scott Capers, Nathaniel Lowe has a 912 OPS, which leads all of those bats down in Hickory. Evan Carter is close-ish behind with an 880 OPS, a 377 on base. The walks for these guys, the walk rate is fantastic. On base for the entire team is just sky high. I mean, everybody Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a decent chunk of these guys have an on base over 370. Six of the guys on this roster have an on base over 370. You bump that down to 360, which is still really darn good. You got 8 guys in there. You got all the way down to 330. You got 9 guys. 9 guys with an on base over 330. And even the guys with on bases a little bit lower are still walking at a pretty good rate. I mean, Luis Acuna has 7 walks in just 12 games. That's really dang impressive. The number of guys with double-digit walks on this team, 7. 7 guys with double-digit walks. That is really, really impressive. They have been very patient there. They are still striking out a little bit. That's fine. Not hitting a whole bunch of home runs. Trevor Halver is second on the team with 5, tied with Chris Cease, which is pretty impressive. Even though the rest of Cease's numbers aren't super great, he's hitting only 212. But again, he is also walking. Does have 10 walks to 43 strikeouts in 123 plate appearances. A guy who's missed quite a bit of time due to injury, so I think those strikeouts will, they're just going to be a thing. That's fine. It'll happen. Aaron Zavala is mashing again as well. Trevor Halver. Both those guys putting up some ridiculous walk numbers. Zavala leads the team with 33 to his 30 strikeouts, and Halver, who now has 5 home runs. Zavala has 3. Nice to see them hitting the baseball a little bit harder. Halver has 29 walks and 29 strikeouts. Both those guys been on base over 412. Really impressive stuff there from them. Would like to see them in Frisco at some point. Once I think Dustin Harris gets the bump up, then I might think we'll see a little bit more of those guys in Frisco. But again, they've still got a little bit of growing to do at AA. I'll hopefully see him tonight in the lineup. Hopefully see some Blaine Krim, some Duran, and also wanted to make a quick note before I head out for the weekend on a guy who has done very well this season, and I kind of don't know what to put on him. I think he's a big leaguer, plays pretty much everywhere on the diamond except for on the mound and except for behind the mound, or behind the plate, I should say, a catcher. That is Jonathan Ornelas. He plays a legit shortstop. I really do like him at shortstop. The bat is starting to impress me. He's hitting 346 right now, on base at 380. Slugging, that is the key. This guy kind of had a little bit of IKF in him, a little bit more power. He doesn't have like a 20 on the 20 to 80 scale of power like IKF does. But he's also not the defensive guy that IKF was as well. But he's starting to hit the ball a little bit harder. He's slugging 472. He's got 4 home runs on the season and 6 doubles and a triple in 170 plate appearances. I heard some scouts talking, and they put a big league grade on him. They put a roll 50 on him. That's impressive. That's a guy who the Rangers are definitely keeping an eye on. He's always had that pretty good contact rate, not striking out a whole lot at all. Only 8 walks, but only 32 strikeouts. Again, in 170 plate appearances and 38 games. One to keep an eye on. Like what I've seen from him. Like what I've seen from a whole lot of Frisco guys. This is, like I said before the year, this is probably the best Frisco team I've seen in a long, long time since they had Jorge Alfaro, who, by the way, is doing some nice things with the Padres now. They had Lewis Brinson, Nomar Mazara, and old Joey Gallo. That was a fun team to watch. And so is this Frisco team. If you're out there at the Frisco game tonight, tweet at me. Might come by and say hi. I might not. I'll be with my brother. We'll see. But either way, you get to see some great pitching, some great baseball, and the Rangers are playing some great baseball as well. If they sweep this series against Oakland, which I believe is what they did last time that they were in Oakland, they're going to be at 500. They're pretty close there. And we got Friday night, John Gray versus Cole Irvin. This is going to be a really good pitching matchup that is going to happen late. We have tomorrow, Taylor Hearn versus, I believe, Zach Logie? I don't know. And then on Sunday, Dane Dunning versus James Caprillion, who is probably the worst starter on this A's team. Still not having a horrendous season. Should be a fun weekend. Hopefully the Rangers can pull out the sweep. I think they really do need to take 3 out of 4. This is a pesky A's team, but the Rangers just need to score a couple of runs because this A's team cannot hit. Their pitching is impressive, so need to get those runs while you can and avoid bunching up the 3 hits that the A's are getting a game in the same inning. It's been a fun week. Well, not a fun week. It's been a decent week of baseball. It's been a tough week for everybody. But we've got baseball, we've got lots of baseball, and lots of good baseball. Hope y'all take this weekend to rest and recover. Watch as much baseball as you care to, or as little. I don't know. Maybe just listen to this podcast a couple times if you're not feeling up to watching baseball. That's fine. Won't hurt my feelings if you don't, though. But that'll do it for this episode and this week's episodes of Locked On Rangers. Thank y'all so much for making us your first listen every single day, or your whateverth listen by the time I finally get this up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But for your second listen, or your third, or whatever after this, go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully. He takes you through the major leagues past and present, gives you his unique perspective. He is fantastic. He is a treat. Go check out his podcast. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank y'all so much for listening, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.